Well, hi, Chief.
Diana, how are you?
Good.
Good to see you.
Nice to see you today, June 20th, 2018. Thanks for talking to us today. And we want to make sure it's okay to do the interview and we can use it on our Historical
Absolutely.
Society website and other media forms. What is your full name and your position here in Sachse?
Brian Sylvester, I'm the Chief of Police.
That's what I thought. Where did you serve before you came to Sachse?
So I served almost 23 years in the city of Richardson in the police department. I was hired there as a recruit back in 1992 and spent all of my law enforcement career there and rose up through the ranks and ultimately served the last 7 years as the assistant chief. And when this position became available, I jumped at it. I lived in Sachse years ago and was familiar with it and knew of the police department and thought it would be a very good fit for me, and turns out I was right. This is a wonderful place to work, and I love the city.
Oh, I'm so glad to have you here. Where were you born and where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Austin. My parents, I was actually born over in the HEB area, and my dad worked for the defense industry over that way, and we ended up moving to Austin early in my childhood. My dad actually went to work for my grandfather in his construction business that they worked at for a long time, and ultimately I grew up in Austin, went to Lanier High School, and ended up going to college in San Marcos back when it was Southwest Texas State. Now it's Texas State. And after that, I was in ROTC in college and accepted a commission in the Army and served on active duty for a couple, 3 years before I became a police officer. So.
And did you immediately go to Richardson?
I did.
That was where your career started?
You know, it's a funny thing how things shape your life, but I actually had a soldier in my platoon that was from Richardson, and he knew that I was going to be completing my active service obligation and getting out and wanting to be a police officer, and he suggested that I apply at Richardson. He thought it was a great town. He grew up there, and I applied and was fortunate enough to get hired there and spent a good number of years there. So.
Perfect. Would you tell us a little bit about the Sachse PD and its goals for the future?
Absolutely. Well, we're considered by Texas standard larger than an average size police department. The average size police department in Texas is 25 officers or less. We stand at 35, and we have a number of civilian staff that work with us as well. In fact, we couldn't do our job without our civilian staff. And so we have 51 staff overall. And of course, what most people know the police for is law enforcement. And that is certainly a major component of what we do, but what we pride ourselves on is looking for ways to connect and serve the community in aspects beyond crime control. You may be familiar with some of our programming that we offer to our citizens, and it's all centered on partnering with our community, providing services that you wouldn't ordinarily expect a police department to do, but beyond that, providing opportunities for our citizens to engage with and actually participate in the safety of the city and participate in the operations of the police department. And so I think that's what I want my legacy to be as the police chief here, is how we have grown the organization such that it is innovative, it's progressive, and it provides those services of benefit to the citizens that a lot of police departments just can't do.
You're getting ready to start the camp soon,
Costume
right?
Campers, first week this week, yeah.
So that's exciting to be with the kids.
It is, and as you know, it's a series of 4 week-long camps, and we incorporate 3rd grade all the way through 8th grade, and they're separated by elementary and middle school, but that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about with engaging with our community to help all facets of the community. I believe we have a social responsibility to help educate and grow the youth of our community. And that's what these camps are designed to do. And they're very successful. Every camp, again, this year is completely full.
It was last year too. Was last year the first year?
2 years ago.
Okay.
We started in 2016. And so this is our third edition of that. So.
And next week you have something new starting at Woodbridge
Community
Cafe?
chat.
Community
Yes,
chat.
community chat.
Do you have to sign up to go to that?
No,
Just show up?
Just show up.
Okay.
I'll be there. Some of my staff are going to be there as well. And again, it's what we're looking for is an opportunity to engage with our community and for our community to engage with us. And there's no set agenda. We
That's
want to hear
neat.
concerns. We want to hear comments. It gives us an opportunity to kind of talk about what we do in a very informal setting.
Right.
People can come into the police department for any reason, and they do, but for the most part, they have some type of business here. This program is designed for us to be out in the community, to be accessible in a very relaxed setting so that we can get to know each other as human beings.
I like that idea, just in the Woodbridge Cafe over coffee or
It's going to
a
be
Coke.
great.
And
And we're going to change the time. This is a weekday 9 a.m. event, but we're going to change them as we move along to weekends or even time
Evenings,
or early
yeah,
morning or
yeah.
just vary it so that we can have opportunities for anybody that wants to come.
Yeah, all ages. And yeah, neat. Well, how do you see Sachse changing over the years? What do you...
Well, as you know, for many years it's been fairly isolated in the context of a very small town feel, which we still retain, but has experienced significant residential growth over the years. I know that we're poised to expand on our commercial development through the George Bush corridor. And the police department's going to be a big factor in that development relative to it's something that we need to plan for, and we are planning for that growth from a law enforcement perspective, and how we can assure visibility in our own footprint in that area just as part of a new development in our community so that we can establish that sense of safety in that area as well, as we have done throughout the city. That is certainly how the city's going to be changing in the foreseeable future. We're about topped out with residential growth. We have some capability in that area over the next 3 or 4 or 5 years. But I think the most significant impact to the city is going to be the 190 corridor and of course the 5th Street development that's going to happen over the next little while.
You're right, a lot more commercial growth for us. But backyard, the events we've been
Isn't that a neat event?
I love it.
I like it.
But I enjoyed seeing the police standing around. I don't know if I just didn't notice you the first couple times, but I did the second, and I thought, oh, that's great. And then he was just standing around, visiting and walking around.
One thing that we're very fortunate to experience here in Sachse is a very low crime rate. And that allows us to do a lot of preventative activities and visibility related activities. And our patrol officers, when we have different events throughout the city, and certainly Backyard and Fifth is one, they'll be there spending some time getting to know people and talking and just providing that sense of safety at the event.
You're right, you're not too busy doing crime related issues. Yeah, you can visit with the community. Well, how do you feel the residents have benefited because the residents of the city of Sachse? You touched a little bit on that. We have so much residential, but is there anything else that we kind of get a plus from because we live in the city of Sachse?
I think one of the things that we pride ourselves on is being very responsive.
Yes.
There's towns around where you can get to talk to the chief anytime you want. You can call them on the phone and they'll pick it up or what have you. But certainly here, what I try to do is be very accessible, be very visible in the community, and a lot of times people are surprised when they get a call back from the chief or they get an email from the chief, because certainly I'm busy, but I'm never too busy for a resident, because their concerns are very important, and I want to demonstrate that they're important and that we're going to address them in any way that we possibly can. I mentioned before a lot of the different programs that we have that a lot of agencies do offer differing programs, but we try to tailor ours that are innovative and unique based on what our residents desire. And we come to understand what they desire through these different types of events and Public Safety Day and being out in the community and attending different events and just talking to people. And I think our residents benefit from the transparency of our organization and our willingness to look for opportunities to address things that it may not be a crime, but it's a concern to a neighbor. And the police department is the most visible form of government in day-to-day lives of people. And so I feel very strongly about demonstrating the willingness of their government, i.e. their police department, to help them with whatever their concerns are.
Yeah, I've always seen the police at all of our events, Fall Fest and our Red, White, and Blue Blast, and the kids.
You'll see me out there in a couple of weeks.
In a couple of weeks, yeah.
I'll be there. It's fun times. I love it.
Yeah. What special events come to mind during your time in the city of Sachse? Is there anything that you've really, really enjoyed? Maybe one of these events you've held, or?
Absolutely. I mean, you mentioned our Red, White, and Blue Blast. That's the signature event for the city every year, and will continue to be. You know, fortunately, I have a wonderful staff, and they run the police department's duties and operations with that event, so it allows me just to get out and walk around and mingle with people and talk to people, and it's so refreshing, considering some of the times that law enforcement has experienced over the last couple of years, to see people that actually want you there. And so we certainly enjoy participating in that event. And our Public Safety Day that we started last year, that we're going to continue with this year, is a big event for us. It's our opportunity to kind of showcase to our citizens what their tax dollar supports.
Your vehicles.
Well, all those things, but more importantly, our people. You can have the best equipment in the world, but it's how that gets utilized and how our staff are trained, the culture we have here, which is one of service above self, and demonstrating to our community that we want to partner with them, and that's an event that allows us to do that, I think. So.
How could our community help the PD? What could the community do more than we do now?
You know, one thing that I always tell people is be eyes and ears out there for us. We're much better together paying attention to what's going on in our community than simply a police officer driving around in a squad car. I have a limited number of patrol officers on duty at any one time. They can't be everywhere and do everything. And we rely on our citizens to help us take care of our community. Help your neighbors. Call in on something. If it looks suspicious, call us. The other thing I'll tell people is call 911. A lot of people, I've heard from a lot of different people that'll tell me, well, I didn't think it was an emergency, so I called in on the non-emergency line, and that's fine. I want people to call us above anything else, but certainly, if it's important to you, call 911. That's the quickest way to get an immediate response from us. Because as I said, we're not going to emergency calls left and right, so we have that opportunity to immediately address what's important to you. You know, I tell our recruits, with every test that we give for a recruit officer, I go and I give a little speech about the culture of the organization and what type of officer we're looking for. We're not looking for warriors. We're looking for guardians. And there's a difference. Guardians are capable of warrior-like professionalism when needed, but the vast majority of their time is spent being a guardian and protector of our society. And so that's what we're looking for. And I give them an example of the level of service that we provide. A little old lady that calls us and says, "Hey, I can't get my car to come help me." A lot of police departments won't go to that. We will, and we have. And that is it's a very visible example that I give to these young men and women that want to become police officers of the type of officers that we have here in Sachse. So regarding how citizens can get involved, if you see something, say something, and partner with us. We have a wonderful volunteer program that is paying huge dividends, not only to the operations of the police department and making us more efficient, but again, it gets those extra eyes and ears out in the community that actually are agents for the police department, don't carry a badge and a gun. We don't want any type of confrontation between these individuals and anybody they may encounter, but they help us create that level of visibility and vigilance that tells the bad guys there's people out here paying attention. So, and participate in one of our programs. All of our programs are free. We don't charge our citizens a penny for anything that we offer because I think it's part of what they should expect as a result of their tax dollars paying for their police department.
Yeah, the community volunteer patrol, that's pretty new, isn't it? Just
It is.
A year or so?
It is. We started it in May of 2016.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, I believe in crawl, walk, run mentality, and I thought, well, if we can get 5 or 7 folks to commit time, that would be a success and we would grow upon that. Well, little did I know, there were people waiting in the wings for a program like this. We're up to about 25 or 26 volunteers with a waiting list.
Oh, neat.
I want to be able to make sure that we have plenty of things for folks to do as we grow this program, but we had enormous interest initially, and that continues to today. We just put through another 6 or 7 folks through our initial volunteer training. So very happy with that program. I think it's a wonderful way for people to give back to their community in a meaningful way, and it makes us more efficient as an organization. So.
Interesting. Well, we found that many people we interview have a special, have done something unusual or unexpected, or met some real interesting person. So, is there anything in your life that comes to mind there?
Unusual or unexpected?
Maybe a talent you may have.
Well, I don't know. I played baseball in high school, but
I think this FBI thing's pretty neat.
I'm very proud of that accomplishment. Attending the FBI National Academy was a hallmark executive development moment in my career, and something that few people get to experience. As we were talking about, it's a 3-month program, and it's not easy to get into. And fortunately, I was able to attend, and President Bush came and spoke at our commencement, and just overall neat program.
Yeah, big accomplishment.
Thank you. So.
Well, Chief, we enjoyed talking to you today.
Well, thank you so much. I'm honored to be a part of this. So.
Oh, good.
Thank you for coming in and doing this.
Yeah.